Hi everyone, welcome to Level Up Guitar, where you come to level up your playing. I'm Kalen, and today we're talking about voice leading. I'm going to start by explaining voice leading as simply as I can, but if you're just here for the tricks, feel free to skip ahead. It's maybe 3 to 4 minutes in, so yeah, go ahead to the tips and tricks if you already know what voice leading is. But do you really know? Now, you may have heard that voice leading is complicated, or maybe that it's a more advanced concept when it comes to playing the guitar, but in reality, it's actually a very simple idea. As guitarists, we're used to looking at chords as these building block finger shapes. But of course, we also understand that a chord is 3 or more independent single notes. Voice leading is the way each individual note moves between one chord and the next. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. For this, we're going to use triad shapes on the D, G, and B string set, and we'll look at each string as its own voice. If you don't know these triad shapes, check out my lesson from last week. You don't need to know all of the details to follow along here, but I do recommend going back to it later. Let's take this simple chord progression in the key of C. We'll start on the 1 chord and move to the relative minor, which, by the way, is the 6th chord. And please, if you don't know this, please write it down, remember it, because honestly, this kills me more than anything when I have students that no matter how many times we come back to it, they can never remember that the relative minor is the 6th chord. Okay, so the chords we'll use are C, A minor, D minor, and you probably know a few ways to play these. To talk about voice leading, we're gonna actually start with root position triads, which I explained in last week's video. We'll take the C major triad here in 8th position, and for A minor, we know how to move it down to 5th position, make it minor, and there's your A minor. Next chord, D minor. So jumping up to 10th position. So what's the problem with doing it this way? Is it wrong? No. Sometimes we want the sound of those chord shapes, but it doesn't illustrate smooth voice leading. Instead, let's see if we can find the next chord without jumping around so much. If we start back on that root position C major and we look at the notes, well, hopefully you know that the notes of a C major triad are C, E, G. Now, the notes in an A minor triad root position are A, C, E. If we rearrange those notes, we get C, E, A. Now, that's pretty close to C, E, G. All we have to do is move the top note of the C chord up a whole step from G to A. C major, A minor. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about notes on the fretboard. I'm just doing this to illustrate the example, so don't get too caught up on that. What's important is to see the connections between the shapes. Now, going from this A minor to D minor, we'll move up to the root position minor shape. The D and the G string voices move up 1 step in the key, and the B string stays the same. And this is a really key concept in voice leading, is to look out for what we call common tones. And if there are any, we're going to let that voice stay where it is and allow the other voices to move around it. You won't always have common tones. In that case, you just want to look for the shortest path to the next chord in the progression. We can see this if we go back to C from D minor. In this case, the shortest path would be going back down to that C we started on. Each voice moving down 1 step in the scale. But what if instead we go from D minor to D minor 7 and then back to C? Now you can see that the voice leading wants to resolve up to this C triad in 12th position. And this is a great time to answer the question, why is it called voice leading? It's exactly like you just saw. You change 1 note to make a new chord, and all of a sudden, the other voices are being led in a new direction to resolve to that next chord. With that behind us, let's move on to what you're all here for. 5 voice leading tricks everyone should know. Number 1, major 7 to minor. Number 2, up augmented, down minor. Number 3, ascending diminished. Number 4, the 1-4-1 pivot. And number 5, my personal favorite, the diminished 1 chord. So there's a little about voice leading and my top 5 favorite voice leading tricks. I'll see you in the next one and hope you like and subscribe for more tips, tricks, and secrets from Level Up Guitar.